Let's call to order the City Council meeting for the City of Highland Park, Illinois, February 9th, 2026. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Center.
Present.
Councilmember Bruckman. Here. Councilmember Ross. Councilmember Tapia.
Present.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Here.
Councilmember Bloomberg. Mayor Rotering.
Here, we have a quorum. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the City Council held January 26, 2026?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those minutes are approved. May I have a motion to approve the warrant list?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions on the warrant list? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Center.
Aye.
Councilmember Bruckman.
Aye.
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye. 5 ayes, no nays. The warrant list is approved. The next item is the report of the mayor. I have one appointment this evening. I'm seeking consensus from the City Council on the appointment of Stephen Shute to the Highland Park Public Library Board of Trustees. Do I have your consensus? Yes, thank you. And thank you to Mr. Shute for volunteering. I don't know if he's here this evening. Don't think he is, but we appreciate his service on behalf of the community. We have two proclamations this evening. The first one is recognizing February as Black History Month. Black History Month is an opportunity to celebrate the history, culture, and achievements of Black Americans and to amplify Black voices. I'll read that proclamation. Whereas the origins of Black History Month come from early 20th century historian Carter Woodson's desire to spotlight the accomplishments of African Americans. Mainstream historians left out African Americans from the narrative of American history up until the 1960s, and Woodson worked his entire career to correct this blinding oversight. His creation of Negro History Week in 1926, 100 years ago, paved the way for the establishment of Black History Month in 1976. Whereas Woodson chose February for the first Negro History Week because it included the birthdays of both Abraham Lincoln, February 12th, who is celebrated for the Emancipation Proclamation that freed many American slaves, and abolitionist and former slave Frederick Douglass, his birthday is February 14th. And whereas Woodson hoped that Negro History Week would encourage better relations between blacks and whites in the United States, as well as inspire young African Americans to celebrate the accomplishments and contributions of their ancestors. And whereas in 1976, as the United States was celebrating its bicentennial, the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History expanded the traditional week-long celebration of African American history to a month, and Black History Month was born. And whereas the national theme for this year's observance is celebrating 100 years, Black history, Black presence, and Black futures. And whereas the state of Illinois is home to nearly 850,000 African Americans currently and throughout history, many have played significant roles in Illinois' economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development while working tirelessly to maintain and promote their culture and history. And whereas the city of Highland Park is proud to honor the history and contributions of African Americans in our community, our state, and throughout the nation. Now, therefore, I, Nancy Rotering, Mayor of the City of Highland Park, and the City Council of Highland Park have the distinct honor of proclaiming the month of February as Black History Month throughout the City of Highland Park, and encourage all residents to celebrate this important observance and continue to work towards the goal of liberty and justice for all. And now I would like to invite Human Relations Advisory Group Vice Chair David Buzard and other members of the group to the podium to accept the proclamation. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Mayor Rotering. It is a pleasure to accept this proclamation on behalf of the Highland Park Human Relations Advisory Group. The group's mission is twofold: to support community programs which improve the quality of life here in Highland Park, and to provide advisory recommendations for developing effective solutions to social problems and opportunities related to equality and social justice. We take our mission seriously throughout the year by sponsoring the Character Counts Awards program, and in conjunction with the Park District, by presenting the annual Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service at the Rec Center. The Day of Service program honors Dr. King's legacy through dozens of on-site service projects and includes a celebration of Black culture. This year featured a tremendous performance by the internationally renowned Black jazz company from Chicago, the Joel Hall Dancers. These incredible artists not only treated us to exciting choreography, but also engaged attendees of all ages in learning about the ways in which Black culture and Black artistic expression have shaped various dance styles over the past 100 years. In furtherance of our mission, the Human Relations Advisory Group's 2026 work plan includes initiatives to promote social justice and to encourage us to explore and understand the lived experiences of all of our neighbors from all races, ethnicities, religions, and nationalities, beliefs, genders, sexual orientations, income levels, and walks of life. Among these initiatives is a series of community conversations, which we hope will encourage participants to break down barriers and build deeper connections with other Highland Parkers. Information about these programs will be available in the e-news and the Highlander later this year. Again, Mayor Rodering and Council, the Human Relations Advisory Group thanks you for this proclamation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming this evening, and thank you for the Human Relations Advisory Group's dedicated work to building bridges and breaking down barriers in our community. We'd also like to highlight several opportunities to celebrate Black History Month via the Highland Park Public Library. Listed on the screen is an upcoming do-it-yourself program for adults, as well as information about book displays and online resources available through Canopy and Hoopla, which are two free streaming services available to all Highland Park residents with your library card. Visit hplibrary.org to learn more. And Mr. Bizarre, we will get this to you via our city manager at the side of the dais. Absolutely, go ahead.
As liaison to HRAG, I just wanted to thank you both for coming out tonight. I think that the advisory group has really strengthened its efforts to make sure that not only is MLK Day celebrated in a more traditional light and to look for new initiatives, but I think in all groups that we work with, HRAG has done tremendous work. So I thank you both for your participation and work.
Thank you. We're also proud to, recognize Wednesday, February 11th as 211 Day in Highland Park. 211 Day is an opportunity to celebrate the impact of the United Way of Lake County's 211 Lake County program. 211 provides a 24/7 multilingual connection to essential services throughout Lake County, whether that's mental health and counseling services, emergency financial assistance, help navigating healthcare resources, and more. I'll now read the proclamation. Whereas the United Way of Lake County has been dedicated to serving children and families in our communities for more than 100 years. And whereas the critical service 211 Lake County, which was launched by United Way of Lake County on September 24, 2019, is open and available for everyone in Highland Park and across Lake County. And whereas 211 is a free, confidential, easy-to-remember one-stop helpline that connects people in need to a wide range of essential health and human services and reduces non-emergency calls to 911. And whereas 211 enables the people of Lake County to get connected to help 24 hours a day, every single day of the year, by phone, text, and online, regardless of the language they speak or where they live. And whereas 211 expert navigators are trained specialists who will listen, identify underlying problems, and guide people to available resources. And whereas since its launch, 211 has made more than 375,000 connections to help somebody from every zip code in Lake County, including Highland Park. And whereas 211 team members have compassionately answered calls and texts from Highland Park community members, mostly for help with housing and shelter, utilities, employment, income support, food, healthcare, government, and legal support, and mental health and addictions. And whereas 211 is available to 99% of America's population, and Lake County has led the way as a model to bring 211 services to all Illinois communities so that every person in Illinois has access to quality information, resources, and assistance for addressing health and human service needs. And whereas the City of Highland Park is a key community partner committed to raising awareness of 211, and daily, 211 provides vital information and referrals to individuals and families in our community to improve and save lives. Now therefore, I, Nancy Rotering, Mayor of the City of Highland Park and the City Council of Highland Park, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, February 11th, as 211 Day and encourage everyone to become aware of the services provided by 211. We're so appreciative of the partnership of United Way 211 Lake County and continuing to support our community's needs. At this time, I'd like to invite Yahira Balderas, 211 Community Engagement Coordinator, and Yashwant Sangiri, 211 Advisory Council Chair and Board of Directors member, to the podium to both accept the proclamation and share more about this essential resource. Welcome and thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you so much for having us. On behalf of the 211 and United Way of Lake County team, I would like to say thank you for the partnership. Thank you for making sure our message is amplified. 211 is for everyone, 24/7. We value this partnership and we're grateful to be recognized for the 211 Day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Happy to give you this. You don't want to go back. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you. The next item on the report is, tonight's report from the mayor, is the State of the City annually. This serves as an opportunity to reflect on what we've achieved together as a city, as a council, and as a community, and to look ahead for the year. So I want to start this State of the City address with gratitude, because none of this work happens without people who care deeply about our community. And to my city council colleagues, I just want to say thank you for your partnership, your integrity, your willingness to wrestle with complex issues, always with Highland Park's best interests at heart. Your dedication and your collaboration make our city stronger. To our incredible city staff, you are truly the backbone of this organization. I'm talking to you guys in the back row as well. Your professionalism, your integrity, and your commitment to serve are absolutely extraordinary. You respond in moments of crisis. You manage the daily operations that keep our city running, and you do so with compassion and with excellence. Our residents may not see everything that you do, but they definitely feel the results every single day. And I want to thank our sister governments, our faith communities, and our nonprofit partners. Highland Park has always understood that collaboration is not optional, it's essential. And the strength of our city is magnified when we work together. Most of all, I want to thank our residents. Your engagement, your advocacy, your willingness to show up, and your deep love for this community are what guide our work. And at a time when trust in institutions can be fragile, Highland Park continues to demonstrate what it looks like when a local government listens, responds, and earns that trust. Tonight, I'm proud to say the state of the City of Highland Park is strong, resilient, and moving forward with purpose. We're living in a time of uncertainty. Across the country, people are watching federal chaos unfold, seeing significant changes in policy, and feeling the effects of division and instability. When those things happen, people look closer to home. They look to the government that they can reach. I see you all who are here. We've read all of your emails, and I appreciate you coming out this evening. This is what democracy looks like. We look, hopefully, to leaders that you know. We look towards having stability and transparency and compassion. That's the responsibility of local government, and it's a responsibility that we take seriously. Highland Park has long been a community that leads with values. We've spoken clearly about who we are and what we stand for: inclusion, dignity, safety, and respect for all. When people feel afraid or targeted or uncertain, it's our role to say loudly and clearly that Highland Park is a place of belonging. We are a welcoming city. We are a community that stands against hate and anti-Semitism and racism and discrimination in all of its forms, and we do not stay silent when those values are threatened. We lead not just through words, but through action. Over the last several years, the city's mission serves as the foundation of our work. That mission is to provide high-quality municipal services in an efficient and fiscally responsible manner through effective, transparent, and collaborative governance. These are not just words. These are promises defined and committed to by myself, my city council colleagues, and our city staff. We remain focused on our core priorities that reflect the voices and the values of our residents, which are fiscal responsibility, public safety, infrastructure investment, economic development, environmental sustainability, and vibrancy. These priorities reflect both our values and our obligation to plan thoughtfully for the future. Our mission and priorities give me great confidence in the year ahead. They underpin every item, every line item in our budget and every project in our work plan. They serve as our North Star at difficult times. Let's begin with fiscal responsibility. Fiscal responsibility has been a defining value of the city for a long time. It's not new and it's not accidental. It's the result of steady leadership, thoughtful planning, and a commitment to making decisions that serve both today's residents as well as future generations. Through economic downturns, rising costs, and moments of externally generated instability, Highland Park has remained financially healthy and strong. We adopt balanced operating budgets every single year. We meet our obligations. We plan responsibly for pensions and long-term liabilities, and we continue to invest in the infrastructure and services that make our city work. We're proud to maintain our AAA bond rating, which reflects strong financial management and disciplined stewardship. It's a signal to residents, businesses, and investors that Highland Park is stable, well-governed, and financially sound. Consistency matters. It provides stability. It allows us to respond to challenges without panic. It gives residents confidence that their city is well managed and that their tax dollars are being handled with care. Fiscal responsibility is not about doing less. It's about doing what matters most and doing it efficiently, sustainably, and effectively. It's what allows us to invest in public safety, maintain our buildings, roads, and other infrastructure, support economic development, and continue delivering high-quality services even in uncertain times. In a world that often feels unpredictable, stability is powerful. Knowing that your city is financially sound, responsibly governed, and thoughtfully led provides reassurance. It allows families to plan, businesses to invest, and neighbors to feel confident in the future of their community. Public safety remains at the core of everything we do. Our police officers, firefighters, and emergency personnel serve with courage and professionalism. They show up every day prepared to protect and care for our residents, often in situations that are unpredictable and emotionally demanding. Our budgets reflect our commitment to maintaining strong staffing, training, and equipment because safety is not something we compromise. Last summer, we all celebrated the life-saving impact of these investments when we welcomed a gentleman whose life was saved after a heart attack by the Highland Park Police and Fire emergency responders. The first officer on the scene, Officer Ginger Stokes, was able to render immediate first aid thanks to quick thinking, enhanced training, and the accessibility of life-saving equipment in her AED-equipped squad car. Public safety is also about who we are as a community. When anti-Semitic incidents and acts of hate have occurred, we've responded with clarity and with unity. We've said without hesitation, hate has no home in Highland Park. We've stood with our Jewish community, with communities of color, with immigrants, and with all those who may feel vulnerable. We've reaffirmed that safety includes both physical protection and assurance that every person belongs here. That message matters, especially now. Throughout the year, we host faith leaders at City Hall for candid conversations about the challenges faced by their congregations. And this past year, which was marked by a national increase in anti-Semitic acts of hate, it was moving to see our faith communities come together to support one another, to learn with open hearts and open minds, and to stand in solidarity with our most vulnerable. At a time when fear and division are amplified nationally, our residents deserve to know that their city will stand up for them, protect them, and lead with compassion and with courage. Because standing up for our community is not only about what we say in moments of crisis, but also about what we build and maintain literally. Infrastructure is the foundation of daily life. It's our roads, our sidewalks, our water, our sewer systems, our stormwater management, and the buildings that house the services our residents rely on. When I became mayor, it was clear that years of underinvestment had created growing needs. We made a conscious choice to change that. We are committed to long-term planning through a 10-year capital improvement plan and to addressing problems before they become crises. Last year, we invested more than $36 million in infrastructure. That includes street resurfacing across neighborhoods, water main replacements that protect public health, stormwater projects that improve public health and safety as well as quality of life, and facility upgrades that ensure our city can meet future demands. Just a few months ago, we celebrated the grand reopening of the Highland Park Senior Center and the Moraine Event Space at the former Highland Park Country Club at 1201 Park Avenue West, a place that holds decades of memories for so many of us in our community, has been thoughtfully transformed into a beautiful modern facility and now serves two important purposes: providing world-class programming and support for our residents aged 50 and better, and offering a versatile, elegant public space for private events. It's a facility designed not only for today, but to grow with our community and serve Highland Park for generations to come. We're also planning for major investments like the renovation of the Public Service Center and Fire Station number 34, that's the one on Half Day Road. Those are not just buildings, they're the operational heart of our emergency response, public works, and community development operations. If we expect excellence from our first responders and our staff, we must provide facilities that allow them to serve our community safely and effectively. When we look at the new Ravinia Fire Station with its expanded bay to accommodate the larger rigs that are now standard and the enhanced living quarters for on-shift first responders, it's hard to remember just how difficult the smaller, older facility made their everyday work. Even harder to remember the year that they spent operating, frankly, out of a trailer. Those sacrifices made construction of the current building, which we know will serve us for years to come, a reality. In some years, infrastructure projects entail resurfaced streets, reconstructed bridges, or critical but unseen sewer improvements. To be sure, many such programs are on our 2026 capital improvement program. However, 2026 will also see us consider a project completely outside of our experience, the design and construction of the permanent place of remembrance. This will be a significant step forward in our community's resiliency journey. Yet we know that thinking about what these two spaces for reflection, remembrance, and solace will look like will not be easy. We made a promise to the families and everyone impacted by the shooting nearly 4 years ago that we would not forget what they endured. And this year, we will travel back along this road together as one Highland Park to ensure that future generations of Highland Parkers continue to remember. This is what responsible leadership looks like. Not postponing hard decisions, but making thoughtful investments that protect the long-term health of our city. Economic development is another cornerstone of our work. Highland Park thrives when our small businesses thrive. Over the past several years, we've expanded programs that directly support local entrepreneurs, including grant programs that have helped restaurants and food establishments reinvest in their spaces, improve accessibility, and strengthen their operations. We've continued to support our business districts and work to keep our downtown and neighborhood commercial areas vibrant and active. 2025 was no doubt an exciting year for our business community. We welcomed 43 new businesses, including 8 new restaurants, and used our portfolio of incentives and grant programs to support existing businesses too. After all, Highland Park businesses are at the heart of what makes our community so unique. Whether a delicious smoothie to power your mornings at Bright Bowls, which received a city grant to help its relocation, or a leisurely déjeuner at that little French guy, which received a city grant to assist in its expansion. These are just 2 of the local businesses operated by business owners who are beloved community members themselves that receive financial support from the city this year, because investing in the growth of our businesses is investing back in our community. We've also focused on building community through events that bring together residents and visitors of all ages and interests, strengthening connections and showcasing everything that makes Highland Park special. This past year, analytics software reported 4.9 million visits to downtown Highland Park alone, with an additional 500,000 plus to the Ravinia district. We can look back and we can celebrate those expanded businesses and increased foot traffic with pride, because this work is about more than economics. It's about people, it's about community. Our businesses create gathering spaces. They provide jobs. They contribute to the character and energy of our city. Supporting them means supporting the social fabric of Highland Park. Economic development is placemaking at its core. Every time you pause and you say, that's why I love living here. When you enjoy a summer picnic at Jensen Park at Food Trucks Thursdays, or you find yourself dancing with a neighbor at the Taste of Highland Park, or you count down with the kids and with me for the holiday lights being lit at Port Clinton Square, that's placemaking at work. That work begins here at City Hall, but it ripples out into the community. And we remain committed to the thoughtful and responsible development. Growth must reflect our values, respect our neighborhoods, and enhance quality of life. Economic development is not about growth at any cost. It's about growth with intention. Sustainability is an essential part of our future and woven into all of our decisions. We're proud that in 2025, Highland Park achieved the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus EV Readiness Bronze designation. We've incorporated electric vehicle readiness into our building codes, expanded charging options, and created a community where residents have meaningful access to cleaner transportation. Highland Park has the highest number of electric vehicles per capita in the state of Illinois. That's not just a statistic. It reflects our commitment to innovation, environmental responsibility, and the health of future generations. Sustainability is all about leaving this city stronger, healthier, and more resilient for our children and our grandchildren. And finally, vibrancy. Vibrancy is what ties everything together. It's the energy of our downtown, the strength of our neighborhoods, the creativity of our businesses, and that sense of belonging that our residents feel. It's built through strong fiscal stewardship, safe neighborhoods, smart infrastructure, thriving local businesses, and a shared commitment with our sister governments to caring for one another. Bless you again. When you look at all of this together, at what we've achieved and what's on the horizon, what you see is a city that has stayed true to its values while continuing to evolve. A city that invests in its future, a city that protects its people, a city that speaks clearly about who it is and what it stands for. In moments of national uncertainty, Highland Park has been steady. When people are looking for leadership, we've shown up. When people are looking for compassion, we've led with heart. When people are looking for accountability, we've governed with transparency and responsibility. And that brings me back to gratitude. Again, thank you to my council colleagues, past and present, for your leadership. Thank you to our staff, past and present, for your dedication. Thank you to our partners for collaboration. And thank you to our residents for your trust, your engagement, and your belief in this community. The state of the city of Highland Park is strong because our community is strong. And together we will continue building a Highland Park that is safe, inclusive, vibrant, stable, and worthy of the trust placed in us every single day. Thank you so much for your time and for listening. That's my report.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. The next item on tonight's agenda is business from the council. Is there any business from the council? Nope. Okay. Business from city staff?
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to bring to everyone's attention, we have 10 items on the omnibus agenda. All are recommended for approval and have detailed associated staff reports. I just want to highlight 3 of them. Number 2 pertains to a proposed sales tax rebate with the corporation that's representing doing business as McGrath Kia. This was presented to the City Council at Committee of the Whole meeting for policy discussion. This initiative is part of one of the economic development tools that's available to us to invest in the business community, and it's based on a new revenue stream to the city. Number 5 is the issuance of $4.1 million in general obligation bonds for financing capital projects for this fiscal year. This initiative is in alignment with our budget as well as our financing strategy. I do want to recognize Dan Forbes, who's the president of Spear Financial. He is with us this evening. Just want to thank him for his assistance, not only on this initiative, but for all his guidance and counsel over the years. Also want to recognize him because he just announced his retirement. So I want to thank him for his years of service and support to the city. And then the last item on the agenda is a very exciting one on the omnibus agenda. This is the local historic designation for 3135 Priscilla Avenue. This is unanimously recommended by the Historic Preservation Commission. It meets all the criteria set forth in our code. We are grateful to the owners for pursuing this local historic designation, and it's highly recommended for approval.
Great, thank you. Assistant to the City Manager Palbitska, if you could please introduce the next item on our agenda, business from the public.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item on the agenda is business from the public. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the City Council on a topic that is within the council's purview and jurisdiction, but is not listed in another location on the agenda. If you would like to speak about a matter that is listed on the agenda, we ask that you wait until that agenda item is called, and we will give you an opportunity to speak then. If your matter is on the omnibus consent agenda, please let us know if you'd like us to remove that matter from the consolidated list so that you can speak about it. Please be aware that business from the public is not intended to be a forum for open dialogue or engagement with members of the City Council. Rather, it is intended as an opportunity to make comments to the City Council. Please do not expect a response from anyone tonight. If appropriate, questions may be directed to the city manager or other city staff. All comments should be directed to the City Council. All speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. We request that speakers refrain from throwing objects or using noisemakers and that the public not applaud or make other comments after any speaker. We ask that everyone be respectful, civil, and non-repetitive.
Thank you. So this is an opportunity for business from the public on an item not on tonight's agenda. Are there any members of the public who wish to be heard on an item not on tonight's agenda? Okay, thank you. We'll continue on then with our omnibus agenda. Items 1 through 10 have been grouped together for omnibus consideration. You had 2 you wanted to pull?
No, not pull, just.
What did you want to say? Okay. So let's get a motion. Okay. So may I have a motion to approve items 1 through 10?
So moved.
Second.
And what are your comments?
On 2 of the items that are on the omnibus, 6 and 7, which is the unit price of flower planting and the holiday lighting program, I really want to thank staff because we do a beautiful job now. But in looking over the budgets over the last 3 and 4 years of each of these groupings, this year we have really increased our costs for these. So I just wanted to call the council's attention to that and say I support the programs. It's on the omnibus. You do a beautiful job, but the cost is getting much higher. And so I think perhaps we need to see if we have to tamp down or whatever we have to do moving forward. But for this year, I'm okay with going forward with it.
Okay.
But it's those 2 in particular, because there are other things we are able to maintain within a 10% or 5% increase, but these were like 100% increases or more.
Yeah, and that's based on feedback of initiatives to improve in that investment. So for example, like the lighting, keeping it on for a longer duration of time and for longer months of the year. So yeah, certainly in the future, we can scale back. So we can talk about that as part of the budget workshop as we prepare the 27 budget.
Thank
But
you.
that's reflective of decisions by this council.
Correct,
To leave the
yes.
lights on longer, so it's going to cost more money. I
Yes.
think. Okay.
Yeah.
We do have a motion, we do have a second. Any other comments on items 1 through 10? Nope. Will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Center.
Aye.
Councilmember Bruckman.
Aye.
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Littleworth.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, we have 5 ayes, no nays. Items 1 through 10 have been approved. Under other business, we have 5 items. Corporation Counsel, should I read all 5? How do you want to proceed? There's a lot of action here.
Right. You may as well read all 5 because they all relate to a single development. The Director of Community Development, Director Fontaine, is going to summarize what has changed in this evolving matter even since the pass out on Thursday. You have comprehensive reports from the staff on each one of the items. I will talk to you about the vote count required because one matter, the very first one, rezoning, as a result of a written protest, will require a different vote than the others. So you can gauge, Mayor, at the end whether there's consensus and you want to vote on them together, but I would read them, the titles to each of them right now, and then let the director talk about the matter in general.
Okay, thank you. So item A is an ordinance rezoning property from the I Light Industrial District to the RM1 Medium to High Density Residential District and the R7 Single and Two-Family Residential District. This is at 1660 and 1700 Old Deerfield Road. Item B is a resolution approving a final plat of re-subdivision, again, 1660 and 1700 Old Deerfield Road. Item C is an ordinance granting a special use permit for a planned development for an off-street parking lot at 1660 and 1700 Old Deerfield Road. Item D is a resolution approving a development agreement for 1660 and 1700 Old Deerfield Road. Item E is an ordinance approving a plat of dedication for city-owned property as public right-of-way at 1677 Old Deerfield Road. I want to first thank everybody who came out this evening, who has come out to multiple meetings, who has written emails, who's signed petitions. This has been an enormous conversation as a community. And changing our minds, or what's going on here? Okay, well, I'm going to wish you well, gentlemen. So thank you for coming out this evening. The way we're going to proceed is we're first going to hear from our Director of Community Development, Joel Fontaine. Then we're going to have questions and conversation from the City Council pertaining to what he's presenting. If the applicant wishes to add anything, we welcome your comments and your participation, obviously. And then we will have business from the public. We will hear public comment. So with that, let's go.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the item you just called, staff recommend adoption of the following ordinances and resolutions with conditions approving the development proposal at 1660 to 1700 Old Deerfield Road. Consists of 5 items for your consideration. There are revisions to number 1, 3, and 4 recommended. These revisions include a minor change to the legal description for the zoning map amendment. As you can see here, this excerpt, a series of numbers that were deleted, no longer applicable, and there is a date change. The second has to do with the ordinance granting a special use permit. Inserts the date October 29th, specifically 29th, and that is in section 3L. And then lastly, it adds a provision to the development agreement in section 6 regarding additional security for potential unknown construction and build-out issues. So those are the 3 changes to the documents that you have before you. So this is new, this part. The others were just minor corrections. And Madam Mayor, we do have that recommendation that these be adopted, and defer to Corporation Counsel. Were you about to say
I
something?
think you need to summarize what's in.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I will, but Corporation Counsel looked like they wanted to say something.
Yeah, actually, Mayor, we're happy to provide the summary. We did provide the summary at the last city council meeting of the documentation that is required. This accomplishes it. Remember, this is an interesting, the city council is accustomed to seeing developments come up with a combined preliminary and final. Most of the developments that you've seen in the past several years have had combined preliminary and final. This one went through the rather normal process, the process that's contemplated in our code of having a bifurcated preliminary approval process and then go back and have final plan review process. So we're at the final plan review process.
Right.
The reason Director Fontaine simply identified the changes is because truly nothing else has changed since you last saw this. The only thing that I would, well, he mentioned that as one of the documents. I'm happy to talk about that specifically.
I think out of deference to the public who have been following this for months, this is a new component that has been agreed to this afternoon, and many have not had the opportunity to take a look at it. It doesn't need a huge explanation, but it needs,
I'm happy
I think,
to.
like a 3-sentence
I'm
summary.
happy to
of
provide
this.
that, Mayor.
Thank you.
The developer has offered to the city to provide, in addition to all of the other covenants and guarantees and security deposits that are required in our document. The developer has offered, because of the size and scope of this development, an additional public benefit that is to cover any unknown or unforeseen issues that, although there's hundreds and hundreds of pages where we try to identify everything and even try to have instances where we've included studies that must take place, a traffic study and a sound study, for example, and that the developer is going to have to, at its expense, do whatever is required by those studies. In addition to all of that, the developer has said, I will put $25,000 into an escrow that gives the city the ability to determine when the project's at 90% occupancy. If there's something that we didn't back in February of 2026 identify or that's not in the documents. And the city, at its sole discretion, can determine how to use that $25,000. If the city determines that the documents covered everything and there is no need, that money gets delivered back to the developer. But the developer does not have input. The city has at its sole discretion how to use every penny of that $25,000.
Thank you.
So
I
that's
just
in a
thought
nutshell that.
to throw this up and go, and by the way, we've got this, 30
Yeah.
seconds later, take it off. I just wanted
Fair
people to
enough,
know
fair
what that
enough.
was all about. So appreciate it. And I appreciate your explanation that we have voted to approve and asked for the drafting of final documents. We have a couple of changes that have come through after that conversation. Thank you to the developer for hearing us. And I don't know.
And there's one more thing that I
Okay.
think probably merits some further thought.
Great.
I mentioned this during the preliminary stage, and I told you it wasn't relevant then, but it is relevant tonight. We did receive a so-called protest that appears to be in accordance with our code. We have a provision in our zoning code, and there is one in state law, that allows certain neighboring property owners, it's a very complicated formula, but allows certain neighboring property owners to file a protest to the rezoning of property. If that protest is valid, if it's signed by the applicable percentage of property that fronts or is across from property that's being rezoned, that would trigger a supermajority vote by the city council on the rezoning action. The rezoning action is item A. That's the ordinance rezoning. That will, a supermajority vote means that 5 affirmative votes are required to adopt the ordinance. Normally, and for all the others, 4 affirmative votes would be required. So I want you to be aware of that when it comes time to vote.
Yep.
Mayor,
Thank
the
you.
only other thing, if I may just add, we do have a detailed PowerPoint presentation, so certainly any questions that come up, and if you want us to reference them on the AV screen, we can do that. We've received a number of emails from the public, both expressing questions about the development or concerns, as well as in support. Those that have raised questions, we are directing them to the very comprehensive, detailed packet that is posted on our website, where not only there are detailed staff reports, but there are supplemental and legal documents that reinforce basically the rationale and history and all the information that's set forth in the proposed plans.
So this evening, Mr. Fontaine, do you have a further presentation, or was it just, these are the changes onward?
We were leading with the changes, Madam Mayor, so that the
Okay.
council's aware of that when you adopt it. I, like City
Yeah.
Manager Newkirk said, prepared to present as well if
Okay.
you would like. It's at the council's
Great,
discretion.
thank you. Does the applicant have anything you'd like to add to where we are, or? Okay. No? Okay. Actually, I have just a couple of questions remaining that I kind of, I wanted to confirm. In Section 6 of the development agreement, we talk about construction traffic entering and exiting from the north only. Have we rectified any concerns that we have both about the train tracks, the fact that we are attempting to keep all construction out of the neighborhood? Do I have confirmation that that's solidly in place?
The discretion of Public Works Director Bannon, traffic management plan will be provided, and actually attachment 14 of our memo shows what it was provided by the applicant thus far. So they are our city roads, and we do have the ability to dictate that. Our agreements require them to provide that traffic management plan. They will not be using Ridge Road except for the utility and other necessary work. Same with the old Deerfield Road in front of the police station. Obviously, it needs to be widened. They have to do that work. But the rest of the construction traffic is coming in off of what's referred to as the access road along the railroad. As for the railroad crossing area itself, we did have calls with the Illinois Commerce Commission about that specifically. They've included signage and such and markings appropriately, and they are to follow per the development agreements specific standards for how to do that. So that has been addressed as well.
Okay, my next question is, where are we with the NFR letter? Where in the timeline? And
The NFR letter will be, so they will pursue the NFR using best practices to pursue that, and that will be issued at the appropriate time during the development. So as they're going to do construction while pursuing NFRs, there may be one or more NFRs pursued for the site. We spoke with the IEPA about this. They reviewed the information that was provided by the applicant, and as we go through the permitting process, we'll be monitoring that application to the IEPA and the studies that go to the IEPA and see what the IEPA says when they review them. Similar to the way SMC is reviewing their wetlands application. So, and at the appropriate times, we'll be issuing permits and occupancies as warranted.
Okay, and in looking at the memo in that regard, and maybe the date was wrong or maybe the date was correct, it said something about a groundwater report coming in January 30th of '25. Is that '25 or '26? And do you have those reports, or is that an error in what we've received? There were conversations about sort of the components that were leading up to this declaration of no further remediation. So I'm just curious to know, have those reports started, or have they, was that
We
a
have not
typo
received-
possibly? That-
Yes, we have not
okay.
received reports.
All right, tell I read this carefully, you guys. I'm going to confirm that there is no access to Ridge, and that whatever this emergency thing is not a road. What does that look like?
So it's not even on the plat. What it is it's essentially an option, if for lack of better terms, for the council, should the council deem necessary based on police and fire recommendation, that there's a need for that emergency access. Both police and fire have said that there is not at
Okay.
this point. It was a future contingency. It gives the council the ability to look at that sometime in the future, should that be deemed necessary.
Okay, but there are
So-
no plans?
No, there will be
At
no
all.
construction there. Nothing will happen there. It would require council to take an action subsequently based on information where there is a clear need for that.
Mayor, it's
Okay.
just an easement at this
Yeah.
point.
It's what?
It's just an easement at this point.
Okay, thank you. The businesses to the north, I know there's the
Mm-hmm.
parking lot in the northwest quadrant, and mainly for police visitors and whatnot, but in the
Yes.
evenings or at other times, is that public parking, or is that parking for the development? It wasn't clear to me who can use that
Mm-hmm.
extra parking that's being placed there.
So there's a 14-space parking lot, of which, 42-space parking lot, of which 14 spaces will be able to be used by the police department and its visitors during Monday through Friday, 7 to 5 p.m. There's non-exclusivity to allow pass and repass in the access aisle and that parking area to get to the other portion of the parking area that has to do with the neighbor to the north has that easement on the larger portion of it. So it's 42 spaces, of which 14 are related to the city's use and the 28 are related to the other use, the commercial property to the north.
Great, thank you. And then the south tot lot in the development,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to confirm that that's open to the public. That's not just for, yes, you're shaking your head.
The
yes.
west tot lot, we refer to it as. It's on
Okay.
the south side, but yes.
it's okay,
Yes,
yeah,
it's on
the
the
west tot lot.
southwest, yes, side of the
Okay.
property.
I'm going to leave my comments about the crosswalk to public comment. So I think that's it for my questions. Do you have questions?
I have my comments, and I have some questions from Councilmember Ross.
Okay.
So Councilmember Yumi Ross is in Japan right now, but she very much wanted to be here. So from Japan, she sent me some questions and comments, so I just wanted to pass those along at this point. And she writes, as the current PDC liaison from council, I asked Councilmember Littwer, as the immediate past liaison to PDC, to read the following questions and statements, since tonight I cannot be at the February 9th meeting in person. I deeply apologize that I can't attend tonight's meeting. My first question, can forestry reaffirm that the heritage trees on the site will not be harmed by excavation?
Appropriate provisions will be made to not harm the heritage trees. The forester is not here this evening, but I can tell you that he reviewed the plans, he reviewed the conditions, and there will be appropriate tree protection installed, and there will also be the provision for the invasive species that.
In our
people
packet,
work.
there was a whole thing about screening each heritage tree.
That's
And so
correct.
it was very explicit, but
And our code
she's
currently
asking
has
this
that.
publicly, so I wanted to
Absolutely.
just.
Question, I will
Yes.
affirm that all of the requests of our forester have been complied with by, and are in this document.
Okay. Second, can the landscape strip opposite Bluegrass Restaurant be widened by 2 feet and be language in the contract that Habitat is required to keep it in good shape? So I think that's something that she wanted to bring up, but she did want to know about keeping that in good shape since irrigation was already put into that 2.5-foot strip. I think
The
question-
developer address that?
Whose responsibility is that?
The developer's responsibility to install and maintain, yes, the property owner.
Would you like me to go?
Thank you.
My name's Zach Zoller. I'm with the Habitat Company. We have expanded as much as we can in between the public parking and the easement holder's lot, but we did install irrigation to make sure that that strip is better maintained than it currently is.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
And her third and last question is, a week ago, Director Fontaine had a creative solution for concerns from 2 of us council members that we voiced at the last meeting at the Habitat proposal for the split RM1 and R7, that they could potentially be used in the future for more density with contracts providing for protective language. Zoning all R7 adds layers of protection. Because it is late, Director Fontaine suggested that during the upcoming comprehensive plan work, council could consider all R7 zoning, but that a zoning sketch would be needed. Councilmember Littlewer requested that Habitat undertake that zoning sketch as a public benefit to the city. It's our understanding from Corporation Counsel and Director Fontaine that Habitat never objected to the idea of all R7, just at slowing down the project. This allows them to continue with their current schedule. I'm not sure if that's a question, but that
You're
is,
asking about having the whole thing rezoned to R7?
yes, in a comprehensive plan. That's what she's asking, and to have it considered.
Corporation Counsel?
And that question was addressed at the last city council meeting. It was rejected by a majority of the city council members.
Okay. And then she says, I reiterate that I support this project. I greatly appreciate the many additional affordable housing units this will bring to our community. I appreciate the green spaces Habitat added, some of them at my request. I ask for these changes in light of this being the largest project Highland Park has seen in generations. Thank you, Yumi Ross.
Thank you. And then did you have any questions of your own, or?
I didn't have questions. I just had my comments for when we go into this, so I don't know if we want to do
Okay,
that
I
now.
think we want to hear from everybody, right?
Before hours?
Whatever you want to do.
Well, you know, I have my feelings, but I think that if we wanted to do ours, but I still want to hear from the public.
I want to hear from the public.
Okay, so
Okay, so maybe hang on.
sounds great.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Tapia?
No, I don't have any.
You're good? Councilmember Bruckman?
No questions.
No questions? Councilmember Senna?
Yeah, quick general question, Director Fontaine, as you were going through the construction traffic requirement in the development agreement, more general, what's the recourse or what's the penalties for non-compliance with something like that?
It's a breach of contract. I mean, we have this control over our, first of all, there are streets and we dictate things on public right-of-ways, but specifically in the development agreement and the documents, the approval documents, it gives the city control and to dictate where these traffics occur and what measures are needed.
And to expand on that, we could refuse to issue building permits. We could refuse to issue occupancy permits depending on when it occurs. We could seek monetary damages. We could revoke all approval. So we have a heavy hand in ensuring compliance with our documents.
Great. Yeah, I too, looking forward to hearing some feedback from the public before we go any further. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. And with that, we'll ask the public, if you have comments, to please come forward. We'll ask you to state your name, and
3 minutes.
thank you for coming.
Here,
Right.
want to just remind everyone, 3 minutes.
Each member is allowed 3 minutes, and I know some people are not happy about that. That's to be consistent with, thanks. Hi. Oops. Okay.
In light of,
Please state your name for the record.
Sandra Lurie. Before I begin,
Nope, this is part of the 3 minutes.
okay, well,
Thank you.
since they have now allowed, I'm just going to start, okay?
Sure.
Words, dangerous, crazy, idea, death trap. All words our neighbors have used to describe the crosswalk at Devonshire and Ridge. We've said so many words regarding this matter that I don't know what the words would be to convince you what a dangerous and bad idea this is. You're listening to experts, KLOA, the same ones who tell you that 227 units won't increase traffic. But you're not listening to the people who live here, who absolutely know every twist and turn, every inch of this road, and the behavior of the drivers who drive on it. And now you want to allow them to bring it 23 feet closer to that curve. Their Woodlands path can end at the tot lot. It need not extend to Ridge Road. I can't see. Why would it? To walk 1 block down to Old Deerfield Road and back again. Please, please listen to us. Now that I see that Habitat is now opening the tot lot to the public, which they didn't before, we feel that the city put that crosswalk in to call it a public benefit, but it's not. There are safer ways to get to the tot lots. You walk down Ridge Road, go to the main entrance. To get to Devonshire Park, easy peasy. But to put in a crosswalk in the middle of Ridge Road is dangerous, plain and simple, no matter what KLOA says. Everybody who lives in the vicinity feels that way. And you're going to be liable for this dangerous crosswalk if you let it go forward. And especially moving it even closer to the curve. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard this evening?
Evening. Jim Lederer, next door neighbor. As your speech alluded to earlier, Highland Park is a wonderful community. I've had my business for 21 years, going on 22. Who wouldn't want to develop a property of 26 acres? It's up to us as a community to make sure we have the right fixtures in place, such as an architect on the design review or the PDC. How we missed that part, I think this project could have been a lot better, but that's my perspective. There's only a couple of points I want to bring up. That's one, we need to make sure we're setting our future set up for the next generation. And I feel we're missing some parts on this one. The second point, the 9 acres that was donated, or the dialogue of giving it to this, would love to see or hear why that did not go through, or did that go through?
It was never offered to us.
That's
That's
your
something I've only heard from you, and I haven't heard it from the owners.
In testimony at the PDC, Zach did state that it was offered.
Well,
Okay?
it didn't come before the council, I can just tell you that.
I understand that. One other point, as far as all the northern neighbors, they got 50 feet at the other end. Joe got 25 feet, and I got 2.5 feet of dirt. I just think we could have set ourselves up better. I understand this is going through. It's going to be a nice project. I think it could have been done a lot better with a lot better forethought. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard this evening?
My name is Rick Balnick. I did send an email to most people in the council. My concern also has to do with the crosswalk and the safety issues. I live on Devonshire Court. I ride my bike down south on Ridge. And when I'm riding back to my home and I have to cross that street, I am aware of how fast the cars go. And just south of that walk that you're talking about is a curve. And you don't really have a whole lot of time to realize that would be a crosswalk coming. I'm really speaking against myself because if people from the development have to walk down Old Deerfield Road and come to the Devonshire Park from the north, they'll be by my house. So I'm speaking against myself in terms of traffic. The crosswalk doesn't affect, not in front of my house, but I think it's a really very serious safety issue. And as a clinical psychologist working with children, I'm very concerned.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Lurie. I ask you to close your eyes for a moment and picture this. You just picked up your kids from Westridge, heading north on Ridge Road towards the police station. You're chatting on the phone. Kids are distracting you. You're driving a familiar route when you round the curve and suddenly see a mother holding toddler's hand, pushing a stroller across the street. You slam on the brakes. It's a near miss, the kind that leaves you shaken, wondering how easily it could have ended differently. Now imagine you live nearby and you hear the screech of tires outside your home and rush out, heart pounding. My parents live right there. I live down the street, only to find what could have been a tragedy was nearly avoided. These are not dramatic hypotheticals. They're entirely preventable situations if thoughtful planning comes first. Our community welcomes responsible development. Growth can be positive, but the details matter, especially for the residents who live closest and will live with the consequences every day. It's difficult to understand why there hasn't been a dedicated conversation amongst the developer, the park district, the residents specifically about the safety implications of this proposed crosswalk. I'm talking about like back and forth banter, not just us 3 minutes with no response. Those of us who live here aren't asking for much, careful consideration and collaboration before a permanent decision is made. As you vote on the rezoning, I urge you to consider removing the crosswalk at Devonshire Court. Removing it would prioritize safety while still allowing the development to move forward. If pedestrian access is the goal, a sidewalk on the east side of Ridge Road, extending from Winthrop to Old Deerfield Road, would provide a clear public benefit without introducing unnecessary risk. As the gentleman before had mentioned about riding your bike, when you're heading north on Ridge, you can't cross. There's nowhere to cross over by Winthrop. The sidewalk ends. I've grown up on that street for 46 years now, and now I live here again. So I ride it with my kids all the time, and we stop, and they don't know what to do because there's nowhere to cross as you're riding down Ridge heading north. Ultimately, this is about protecting families, neighbors, and children who use these streets every day. Thoughtful choices now will prevent regret later.
Thank you. So that's a question for the developer. Is it possible to put a sidewalk along that side of Ridge, or is it precluded by the wetlands? And if it is, then how are we having a walking path? And maybe you need a map if that's helpful, because we all know it by heart, but you don't. And I just think the question of, and maybe Ms. Lurie, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying possibly a crosswalk at Winthrop to that sidewalk would take care of the concerns that you have about the safety.
Right, there's no curve there. It's not the curve.
And then they'd cross at Winthrop, and then they'd come back down to get to the Devonshire Park if that's how they want, if that's where they wanted to go.
Or you could keep going down the road, but it goes around to Devonshire also. Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at the map and see if that's a possibility. Because I have to say, I've spent like the last many months driving around this community, looking at random crosswalks in random parts of the city and going, okay, is this comparable? You know, this, on Sheridan Road, there's a lot of curves, there's a lot of changes in grade, there are crosswalks. There are signs before in both directions to kind of give that driver a heads up that there is a crosswalk coming. So that's what I would expect. But I love your idea of a sidewalk and then being able to cross at Winthrop where there's more of a line of sight. In the packet, I can't remember, city manager, who wrote the safety assessment. It wasn't Chloe, it was somebody else who talked about sightlines and sufficiencies and meeting warrants and all of that. And it was noted that the crosswalk met the standards, the requirements for sightlines from both directions. But if there's an opportunity, I do love a sidewalk. Everybody up here will tell you that. But I think that's maybe a question worth asking the applicant to see if that's something that could be added. It would be along the, am I east, am I south, where am I? You know, the Ridge Road perimeter, so to speak, to get you down the street and into the tot lot. And then you'd move the crosswalk a little bit south on Ridge Road. So is there a better map that we can use to help these guys take a look at that?
The sidewalk would start at Winthrop on the T side and continue all the way to Old Deerfield Road also.
That would be ideal. That would be absolutely ideal. But, you know, at this point, I'm just thinking about the access to and from Devonshire. We're going to pull this up on Google Maps for you guys to see better, and maybe this is something that we'll have to come back to, but I'd love to get it resolved this evening, because that seems to be a huge concern.
Mayor, it's not part of land that the developer owns, so certainly it,
Is it the right-of-way, or who owns that land? It's the wetlands.
Are we talking about this land here? This whole part?
Yes.
Oh, there,
So go
there,
down
okay.
to, go further down, see where Winthrop is? Right. So there's no sidewalk. It looks like,
The sidewalk on the east side, and then you have to stop here, and with your riding bike, and you're like, well, what do? You cross right here, and there's a crosswalk.
so there's a crosswalk at Edgewood.
Yes.
But if you had a crosswalk at Winthrop, is there a sidewalk on the right side of Ridge?
There's a sidewalk and it stops here. And then
Tell me, I can't see where you, I can't see.
stops on the east side. It stops at Grove.
It stops at Grove. Okay, so if you had a sidewalk from Grove down somewhere into the entity,
Grove gets tricky because you're right before the curve, right?
That's why you see there's a walkway to get to the west side of Ridge.
But you see, if you go, put that, map that up, and if you're going to the entrance, the main entrance of the development.
actually, I'm going to ask you guys to come to the podium, only because we're recording and we can't hear you if you're yelling from the audience, so sorry.
It's just, it gets tricky because the sidewalk keeps going and it ends, like she was saying, at Grove by 985. But that's where the curve starts.
Right.
Where 985 is. So
Right.
it's, like, my kids often ride their bikes, stop there and go, what do I do? Because there's no, it's someone's driveway. So if you walk across, it's really dangerous because, right, that's her driveway. You can't see
Okay.
people coming the other way. But if it stops, if you come to Winthrop and there's a crosswalk that's more prevalent, you can cross over. But if that sidewalk continued all the way to Old Deerfield, that would help people. People could even cut over.
Well, then you could walk the entire perimeter of the
development.
development.
But the simpler way that Mr. Bowman was talking about, if you go up, take Ridge Road, go all the way to Old Deerfield Road, okay? Now, Old Deerfield Road to, you know, where it splits,
Yes.
and
Oh, and then
all you have to do is
down
walk down
Devonshire.
Old Deerfield Road 1 block, and you're at the park.
Okay.
There's no
Here's-
need.
So here's my concern.
Okay.
We have the tot lot, and kids are going to go, actually, I'm going to ask you to grab your seat, Mrs. Lurie.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. Kids are going to go in both directions, presumably, right? They're going to want to come to the Devonshire Park, and they're going to want to go to the tot lot. And so, again, my not formal study of crosswalks in random parts of Highland Park, you get to understand, okay, people are going to cross. They're going to cross if there's a crosswalk, if there isn't a crosswalk. And so my concern is now we have this tot lot. I would rather have signs and a crosswalk. Better yet, a sidewalk that would get people to and fro. And that's where the public safety piece just is frankly keeping me up at night. So to the applicant, this is a bit of a last minute question, but I don't even know if this is feasible or if you own that land or if it's the city's right of way or who it is. If that's, because then if you have that sidewalk, at least to the tot lot, ideally to Old Deerfield, now you've really got connectivity, you've got safety, you've got stability, and you've got a way for people to cross over to come to your tot lot or to come over to the Devonshire Park where there's a better ability to cross the road. What are your thoughts?
Well, we haven't studied putting a sidewalk in that
Right.
area. There's
Right.
overhead power lines along Ridge Road that would have to be looked at and studied. On top of, there is a Army Corps controlled wetland that is on our property that we
Okay.
would have to study that as well. I just want to remind you, we don't have a stance on this crosswalk. It was a recommendation of city staff's Parks District that
Gotcha.
wanted this connection, so we provided it.
Okay.
And
This isn't part of your request, this is at their request. I appreciate you explaining that.
It was also about creating conclaves and things like that and
Right.
making greater connectivity.
Connectivity,
There was
within the
different
neighborhood.
public testimony about that.
Okay.
So it just wasn't just the park district.
So I don't want to belabor the point, but I do think it's worthy of further exploration, maybe not right now, but I think, thank you for hearing me and
one thing that
letting us
shouldn't
play
be
with maps.
lost here is in our future traffic study, we will analyze this. And if it's deemed that the city wants us to come out, it can be removed.
Okay,
So if the city feels that they still want to have this crosswalk and at least try it. I don't know what else to say besides recommending a three-way stop.
And the requirement to specifically analyze this intersection is written in the document.
right.
In
So
the
that
traffic
will
study.
come. Okay. Councilmember Sentry?
I was going to say, what about vice versa? What if we decide not to do it today and revisit it for potential inclusion
And
later?
that's sort of what my
As a
comments
study.
my comments are going to kind of address that.
Gotcha, okay.
We would be supportive of that.
Thank you. Councilmember Tapia?
Yeah, I was going to go the same direction, because the letters and the testimonial here was very compelling. You're the ones that live there, and, you're accepting that this is a development that's going to go up and you want to make sure it's successful and safe. And, there's some debate about if it's safe or not, but the testimony is, there's a traffic analyst with all their science, but they don't live in that neighborhood either. And they're not having the day-to-day experience as was told in the letters and in what was said here. So there's a lot of unknowns here. So why put in a crosswalk when there's really deep, deep concerns? And it's just painting lines on the street. So it's not like a big infrastructure thing that if you don't do it now, you never can do it again. Build this thing, figure out where the traffic is happening, do the traffic study, and then we can make a much more informed decision, right? And so I think better to not do it now, let the development happen, let the study happen, and you're already held accountable to addressing whatever the traffic study tells us, and then we'll be able to do a much better, more informed decision.
Right.
We're
Great.
supportive of that.
Okay, thank you.
And Mayor, that could be easily removed from the document or amended in the document. We could have it reviewed at that 90% occupancy time period, when we have other things happening. But it's up to you. I just want you to know that can easily be handled.
I'm getting the sense of this group that that's something that they want to put on a future review and not have it be decided this evening.
Right. The
Is that
logical
fair?
time
Yeah.
might be that
I'm getting
90%
everybody's
occupancy
heads
time
nodding,
period.
So, okay.
We got consensus?
So we have consensus. Okay. Do people have things they want to say and then we can take a vote?
Well, I don't know if you have to.
Oh, business from the public. That's right. That's what we're in the middle of. Please come forward. Sorry. I was getting all caught up in like safety, crosswalks and sidewalks. So, okay. My favorite topic. I love a sidewalk. Okay.
Lori Broutman, I live on Devonshire Court. We really appreciate you listening to us and hearing our concerns. One council man, is that the proper terminology?
Member, it's okay.
One council member is asking for an easement for a possible future street to be built at Devonshire and Ridge going into the development. Though it says for emergency access only, when this development is potentially sold to another investor, and it likely will be, it gives potential permission to install a street for any, going from the development onto Devonshire Court. Imagine the traffic and safety and disruptive effects of such a road. Additionally, and I think very importantly, neither the fire department nor the police department feel it's necessary or warranted. This was granted strictly on the request of one person. The city council preliminarily voted to include it, but you have the opportunity to not include it at this meeting, and I would appreciate if you didn't do that.
City Manager, did you want to respond?
Yeah, happy to, Mayor. Just so the public is aware, so this is an easement. It's not a road that would be used for emergency access. So if in the future, let's say police and fire are recommending an emergency access road, very similar to, we have one that serves Edgewood Middle School when that ring road was constructed, then that consideration would have to come back to the corporate authorities, the mayor and city council, and they would have to vote to approve that emergency access limitation only, and it would be used expressly for that purpose. So for the more than 10 years, for example, that we've had that emergency access road at Edgewood, I don't think we've ever used it. I mean, knock on wood, but I don't think we've ever used it. But again, at this point, it would just be an easement for potentially, if there were police and fire request for an emergency access road, it would have to come back at a public meeting and be voted on by the corporate authorities.
And people have respected that that road has only been to be used for emergency purposes, then.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's literally no way for anybody to get through. So,
That's good to know.
thank you. Any other members of the public, please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Julie Urov. I own the corner house on Grove and Ridge.
Want a sidewalk in front of your house? I'm just kidding.
Well, which is an excellent point. And we appreciate and are in acceptance of a development coming to our community. Being on that intersection, I think that the public sentiment is diverse on this. We would be against having a sidewalk along Ridge leading up to Grove. Additionally, we don't feel that it's necessary to have a sidewalk coming from the development to Devonshire Park when those residents may use Old Deerfield Road to get to the park. That provides, it would be, as mentioned previously, it could be a safety hazard. And for us, it would mean a lot more traffic around our house by foot. So
Thank you.
please take that into consideration. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Ann Flanagan-Bassey. I just wanted to say thanks. Having served 10 years on the county board, land use issues are difficult, they're challenging, and you guys, I so appreciate, many in the community really appreciate the incredible heavy lifting you have done on time and effort and thoughtfulness, and just wanted to say thanks.
Thanks. Thank you, Ann.
Hello, I'm Janet Swartz, and I also would like to say thanks and mention in particular that I've been really impressed at both the Plan Commission and here with the detail that I think has been taken with the project. I mean, I think there's really been an unusual amount of careful attention. I think because it is a big change in the community to go from a light industrial use to a residential use. And I think a lot of us are very grateful for the downgrade in density and use for the site. But it did require a lot of careful thought since this wasn't initially planned a million years ago when we got the zoning. And I know it's taken a lot of extra meetings and things get heated and uncomfortable, but I think it's been worth it. There is a trend here and also in Lake County where people like me are real happy here, so we're not moving, even though my daughter thinks I should live near her right now. And it has exacerbated what's always a challenge in successful affluent communities, and that is having room for everyone that makes a community good. We need not just the doctors at the hospital, but we need the orderlies and the nurses' aides and the cafeteria workers. And we need all different kinds of businesses and people to help us here. And we're lucky that we've had that tradition of always really thinking about people who work here. We've had lots of special programs over many years, trying in different ways. And we do have a real shortage of workforce housing, and we sort of every few years, we have to like really figure out, how are we dealing with it now? How are we dealing with it now? And it's not easy because we're pretty built out. Solo Cup is really one of the last remaining large parcels. So I appreciate all the time and attention, and I'm glad we're making room for some of the people that make it such a great place to live.
Thank you so much. Any other members of the public?
My name's Tom Decker. I live a couple of blocks west of the development on Windsor, and I am grateful for the opportunity to speak in appreciation of the council's hard work to form this into something that's not a truck depot and is really going to be something that I think is good for our community, and I appreciate all the hard work, and I don't want to let trying to get one more thing be the enemy of approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public who wish to be heard this evening? We so appreciate you coming out. Come on up, Bill.
My name is William Dixon. I didn't intend to speak, but there's going to be a lot more traffic going up and down Ridge Road. And I'm not a traffic expert, I'm not an astronaut. I'm a plumber, and I have a lot of common sense. And where that, I'm agnostic on that crosswalk, but as someone with some common sense, that it's a tot lot, there's gonna be kids running around, gonna have a lot more traffic. I presently live on Grove Avenue, and I cross Ridge Road. It's not an easy road to cross, and where I cross, it's quite a good view coming from the south. But where that crosswalk is drawn, it's right on the curve, and when the people are coming from the south to the north, it's wooded, and people are going to be popping out of that wooded area. I don't think a sign is really worth the risk. I just my common sense. Put it in later. I know there's some concern about the continuity. I don't think that little crosswalk is suddenly going to make us all feel connected in that area.
Okay.
I personally walk down the sidewalk all the time to Jewel. It wouldn't be any more difficult for the people who live in the new community to do the same thing back to get to Devonshire if they wanted to, but they're going to have their own tot lot anyways, so I don't know. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Anybody else from the public who wants to be heard this evening? Well, thank you. Thank you all for coming out. So at this point, the question is, do we take these in omnibus?
Well, you
Or
can
would you
make-
prefer that we
yeah,
take them
Well,
separate?
Mayor, that's ultimately your call. You can determine if with some of these minor tweaks that we talked about, or perhaps major tweaks, you have consensus on your council to have all 5 vote in favor of all documents. If that's the case, you could take them in an omnibus fashion.
This is going to be more, I think, are we done commenting here, though?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we
but
need
I
to
think
do
we
our
have comments from the
comments.
council.
We're not
Okay,
done
thank
yet.
You can then make your determination
Yes,
about how
sounds
to do
good.
it.
Okay, shout of deference of seniority, we'll start with Councilmember Littleworth.
Okay, well, I was going to say I'd love to hear what my other council members have to say,
You
but.
can do that. Whatever you want to do.
You know what, I don't mind hearing what everybody else has to say, because I have a lot to say.
Councilmember Tapia.
Yeah, well, I think that there's been 3 issues that I was concerned about, and 2 have been addressed in a, I think, meaningful way. I think that you can see where the vote is going to go on some of those things. The thing that I keep scratching my head about is actually the impact on bluegrass. There's, the properties near him have gotten some good space, and he is a very successful business person, been there a long time. He knows his clientele, he knows the traffic, he knows the parking needs, and he's actually excited about the fact that this development is going on. Obviously, there's going to be more customers for his restaurant, as it deserves. But Jim has been very consistent in saying that, while there's several things that he's concerned about that I don't think can be addressed just because of the process, but the issue about just him feeling crammed in when he feels that he could use some more space, and I don't know the specifics of how much space he would like to see, but he has been consistent in saying he needs more space. He's feeling crammed in there. He is an anchor in that place, and to me, just to my logic, is why, given the big, huge space that is all around there, a few more feet, why is that? Why couldn't we accommodate that? That part I can't understand.
I thought it was impacting the parking lot size. Go ahead.
So the easement holder of the 28 spaces has rights, and we have to maintain his rights, otherwise this development doesn't go forward. So we would have to take away from him, get him to agree to it, which I don't think he'll be willing to do so, in order to accommodate that. Then, if you wanted to take city space from that lot, which, by the way, Bluegrass will enjoy the benefit of having 14 spaces after 5 o'clock for his guests, then it could potentially reduce those parking spaces on the city parking lot. So that would have to be analyzed. And just mind you, there is not irrigation in between those parking areas now, and we are going to put that in. And also, we've outlined his landscaping that is existing, which is in the public right away, which we'll be sure to protect as well. So one of his early comments during the PDC was he wanted to make sure that he was getting something more than what he currently has. We listened to that, and then we delivered plans that will do that.
Yeah, and Mayor, I'll just add, initially, when we talked about this parking lot, it was going to be exclusivity for the city, for the police department. But we modified with the developer's approval that time period is only Monday through Friday from 7 to 5. So after 5, it is available to the public. And that's when a large part of, I think, clientele for Bluegrass, as well as the residents in the area, will have access to that parking.
I'm happy to answer it.
Do you have anything else?
Well, I just want to raise a question, so
I'm going to raise it too, but not yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm good. Otherwise, I'm good.
Okay, Councilmember Bruckman?
Thank you. As I mentioned in our last meeting on this project, perfect is the enemy of good. Is this project perfect? No. Is it good for Highland Park? Yes. This long vacant Solo Cup site could finally become homes for new families and customers for our local businesses, and that's a step forward. I want to thank our PDC and city staff for the thorough work here, and I note the PDC's thoughtful recommendations and the Housing Commission's unanimous vote on the inclusionary plan. On safety, the concern that I've heard the most, and again tonight with these public comments, is the Devonshire and Ridge crossing and the Ridge and Old Deerfield intersections are addressed through with the updated traffic studies. But at this point, we move forward with holding off on this crosswalk till later on. I am definitely in favor of that now. We're also improving bike safety with sharrows on Old Deerfield and access roads, and an ADA-compliant woodland path vetted by our city forester. And for first responders, dedicated police parking, emergency access, fire turn provisions, construction logistics, and code-compliant lighting are getting built in. We heard the letters of support and the safety concerns, and we responded with enforceable conditions. On balance, this is a good project that moves our community forward. And with that, I will be voting yes in favor of this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Center?
Thank you. I too, had similar questions to Councilmember Tapia. It sounds like Councilmember Lidewer and Councilmember Ross too asked about sort of this small amount of space that abuts the Bluegrass Restaurant. So I heard what you just said, Zach. Would love to figure out if there's a way to still make something better than what's currently there. So that's my kind of one remaining concern that I have. But, sort of we'll echo what Councilmember Bruckman just said. I don't have any scripted remarks, but just appreciate everybody's hard work on this, from city staff to PDC, fellow council members, mayor, the public, most importantly, potentially. And thanks for coming out today, right, and kind of making sure that we got this right to every single detail possible. So really excited for this for the community. I think it's a fantastic project at so many levels. And thanks to everybody who was involved.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Lidewer?
So I do have prepared remarks, but I really appreciate you letting us hear from the public first so that I can incorporate some of that into my remarks. The reason they're prepared is because initially I started with so many issues that I had to write them all out, and I've actually been able to cross them off. So I'm very grateful to all of you for helping me with that. I want to thank everyone for their efforts to make this the best project it can be. Whether it's the developer, Habitat, city staff, Corporation Council, my colleagues, the PDC, and especially the residents, many people have worked extremely hard to bring this project forward. I support this project, and I think it will bring much needed housing, open land, affordable units, and beautification to our community. At this last hour, I'm particularly grateful for the offer of an additional $25,000 in public benefit from Habitat set aside for any additional improvements. You've really stepped up, and I'm grateful. That said, I want to mention that we as a city and community did grant several significant variances, and that's why I think this feels much better to our community to feel that there's a public benefit coming back to the community. At our previous meeting and for the last 9 months, I've sought rezoning of this project R7 and not the mixed RM1, R7 zoning, which is being presented tonight. While I believe the Corporation Council has put in restrictive covenants and safeguards to show the intention of this council, all of which Habitat has also gone along with, no greater density or building, I know it was not the best way to zone the most important, largest 27-acre parcel of available land in Highland Park that we've seen in 30 years. My preference would have been the single R7 zoning, which many felt would have accommodated 227 units. But due to time pressure, I still felt a better way to approach the zoning was to give final approval to the project at the proposed density and, following further study, grant great variances if necessary. R7 zoning is more conducive to the neighboring residential area. But I like to view every journey as an opportunity. And since the zoning change did not occur, I hope that in the future this aspect would be particularly focused upon through our upcoming comprehensive study, formerly referred to as a new master plan. Staff has assured me that the way neighborhoods and zoning are designated and come together is one of the key components we will study. And so I'm hopeful that at that point, this development, the full neighborhood, and Briargate, like other areas of Highland Park, will be studied in a comprehensive manner. That leaves me with 2 small tweaks at the current ordinances and resolutions that we have before us tonight. One is the crosswalk at Devonshire. Following several traffic studies, Habitat has agreed to do an updated traffic study related to issues regarding control signals and traffic patterns upon 90% occupancy of the development or at the city manager's request. I would ask, and I'm hoping that's the way these motions will go, that the same be permitted for the proposed crosswalk and any other ways of dealing with the traffic, whether that's sidewalks or however we study it, at a later date, at that 90% when we're going to study the rest of it. Many neighbors have worried that the proposed crosswalk presents more of a hazard than a safety measure, as evidenced by the numerous resident emails and the testimony we've heard tonight. Since populations are not changing until this development is largely built, why add the crosswalk now when it's not needed nor wanted, and it hasn't been for over 40 years? I respectfully request that we not add the crosswalk now as proposed, but add the crosswalk through an amendment to tonight's motions to the updated study portion of the development plan. That's where it goes. Second is the buffer at Bluegrass Restaurant. I'm not going to talk about Bluegrass because you all have represented what an institution it is to our community. But on a 27-acre development, we are giving a 2.5-foot buffer with irrigation before crossing over into the right-of-way, new parking area, and townhomes. I'd like to ask staff to pull up the picture of this portion of the development on page 838 of tonight's packet for everyone to understand what this means to the new community. And here for a moment, I'm going to digress because I don't want to talk only about Bluegrass. I've worked for 4 years on buffers and berms for this community. And I want you to look at the back of Habitat, just the 5 townhouses. And that's the only area within which I believe that instead of 2.5 feet, we should add another 2.5 feet, and that would do it. So can we go to, please, to page 838? And enlarge it as much as you can toward the northwest corner. I'm going to finish the rest of my testimony and then, or, well, we can go over it. All right, we in Highland Park have worked very hard at requiring buffers and berms. How can we let the backs of 5 townhouses sit on the lips of parking lots? I therefore respectfully request an additional 2.5 feet as the buffer for a portion of the property behind the 5 proposed townhouses at the northwest corner of the development. Thank you for your willingness to consider these 2 issues as we move forward with this development, and thank you for your diligence and all of you for our care of our community. So what I think you'll see, and I don't know, are we not able to get it up? It's loading. Okay, in the meantime, thanks to Councilmember Center, right here you can see that this is the northwest corner. And this little blue line up here, I believe, is the 2.5-foot buffer that y'all have irrigated. It's the end of the parking lot over at Bluegrass. That's it. There you go. Perfect. Okay, so we don't have a pointer or anything, do we?
No.
Okay, you see those red ones right there? That's exactly right. That blue buffer, I believe, is the 2.5 feet. That's it right there, not all the way over. Just from that first tree, you see, one more over, from there to there, exactly. That 2.5-foot buffer, if you increase it by 2.5 feet down and move everything down, and you see the island in front of those 5 townhouses, if you make that 2.5 feet less, you can move everything down 2.5 feet. We won't lose a parking space. If you need some questions for the right-of-way, we've got Corporation Counsel here. All I'm saying is I'd like to add on that we increase it by 2.5 feet. And that way we would have a buffer. We would be able to do plantings because of the irrigation that Habitat is putting in. It's a sound buffer for our community. It's a buffer that looks better for our community, meaning the new development community, and it still retains all the parking spaces.
But you can't back your car up enough. Can you?
Yeah, you can, because you slide just that portion down 2.5 feet. So I'm just asking you to consider it, and I would like to add it as an amendment to the current proposal that we add. And if you tell me you can only do 1.5 feet, you know what? That's fine. But I'm trying to get it so that they don't have a 2.5 foot little thing like this, but instead they have 4 feet or 5 feet. And if we can't do more than 4, I get it, but that's 1.5 foot in a 27-acre project that we're asking, so that that part of your development really comports with what we value in Highland Park, which is really having a beautiful buffer. And you're already putting in all this money for glass and doors and sound. Why not buffer it with a few more trees between that and a restaurant and a parking lot?
So there's a buffer between the parking lot and the parking lot?
So you see the back of the houses, you see there's a bunch of bushes, then they have their parking spaces. Then you've got 2 rows of parking space, one of which is obviously what's being put in.
Right.
And behind it, you have blue grasses. So in between those 2, that's exactly right, whoever's pointing
So more
with
of
the
a buffer
pointer.
between the parking lots?
Yes. And if you put in more green, it'll look better for them, and you'll have more of a space between bluegrass and the development.
I wish the easement holder was here this evening because he would have an opinion on this.
It's not their land.
So there's rights that we have to adhere to, which I was speaking to earlier. We could agree to look at this, but that doesn't change what we need to accomplish this evening if we want this project to move forward. And I don't know, Corporation Counsel, on how we achieve that at this point in time.
And what I'd like to say is I don't want to hold up this project because I recognize that you need 5 votes. You need every one of us up here to vote
And I
for
don't
this
want to be
project.
unreasonable to the request. I just can't definitively answer it
If
as we
I
sit
know
here, given
that-
the easement
Are you
holder's
gonna-
rights.
Would you be willing to talk to the easement holder in the future? and
Absolutely.
report back?
We've,
We could, one way would be to add the requirement, but only if the easement holder allows it. If the easement holder does not allow it, that doesn't give him undue leverage. That means the project's still approved. But it's only if the easement holder would allow it to be accomplished. That way you have your approval, and if he doesn't allow it,
And that's fine.
you don't have to do
and
it.
not only, there are other spatial.
The rear of the townhomes has a deck and private yards.
Right.
And trees.
Right.
So there's actually a canopy that's growing on the south side of the parking lot. There wasn't enough room on the north side to both give the easement holder all of his parking spaces and the city parking spaces, except for the three planters that we created, the one in the corner, the one between the 2 lots, and then the one on the right side.
Yeah.
2 of those 3 have trees. The easement holder does not want the tree in the 3rd one because he has a security camera that he wants to watch his parking lot. So we honored that request. But if we were to try and push everything down, there is not enough room here for the restriction of the setback of the garage with the driveway path, the depth of the townhome, and the rear yard of the townhome, and putting trees in the rear yard to be able to squeeze another 1.5 foot out. That's the reality of space. We'd be willing to look at it.
Well, I mean, that's what I would like you to do, because frankly, you have an island in front of those townhouses that if that island were 1.5 foot or 2.5 feet less deep, that island exactly there, it would give you the ability to force just at that one juncture those down. And in moving everything down, we still remain true to the spaces.
Yeah, I think we can agree to look at it like you're requesting. That's absolutely a reasonable request, and we can do that.
I heard it.
Okay. Thank you.
Just want to make sure what exhibit letter is this to which document, Joel or Marcus? Do we have the answer to that?
It's, yeah. It's going to be more than just this. They pulled down the entire packet, so.
I mean, this is a lot.
Figure
one. Is, yeah.
And which one is it? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
It's in the
I just
development
wanted,
agreement.
so that I could
It might be
accommodate.
in the development agreement, probably. I don't know.
Well, development agreement is in 4. I can check my notes, because I do that.
We know it's page 838, so we.
838, whatever one that is.
Okay.
Yes, that's
Jo-
right.
Joel, there's a landscaping exhibit for the parking lot.
That's what
It
it
was
is.
pulled up earlier.
Yeah, I mean,
On
I put that in
838?
my, right, yeah. in my- They should be able to crosswalk, right?
Okay, the landscape agreement for the parking lots in the special use ordinance.
It's in which one?
Special use.
Yeah, there's an entire landscaping plan of which I'm going to assume there's an exhibit that detailed this because we showed irrigation on that exhibit to make sure that everybody understood we were
Landscaping
trying to
plan.
create a better space
Yes.
in
I think
between
that's
that.
Exhibit
Exhibit
G,
G is in,
under the PUD ordinance, under C.
There we go.
Yeah, landscaping plan, parking lot easement exhibit, yeah.
perfect. I have
Okay.
it now in case you're ready for that motion.
So thank you for taking a look at that and talking to the easement holder. We appreciate it.
So with that in mind, make a motion.
Sounds good.
With that in mind, I'd like to make a motion to incorporate the three ordinances, ordinance for rezoning, ordinance for granting a special use permit, and ordinance approving a plat of dedication, and the two resolutions approving a final plat of re-subdivision and approving a development agreement
Did you say incorporate or make a motion to adopt?
to adopt.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that's
Yes.
items A, B, C, D, and E.
Don't we need to clarify?
So A, B,
As
C-
amended.
Yeah, A, B, C, D, and E in an omnibus fashion with two amendments.
Correct.
One is to push the requirement, if any, for the crosswalk to make it to a determination to be made by the city at the time of 90% occupancy. And two,
Subject to an updated traffic study.
Right.
which is already in
Which
there.
is already in the-
Specifically for the Devonshire.
Exactly.
And the second is to amend Exhibit G to increase the buffer between the two parking lot areas, but only if allowed by the owner of the easement area.
Yeah.
If the owner of the easement area does not allow it, this requirement.
Up to an additional 2.5 feet. Up to. You know, if we get a foot and a half, we're great. We get 2 feet, we're great. So, okay?
Okay.
Those are the two. And so now, Mayor, you're taking it in omnibus fashion because one of those ordinances requires a five affirmative votes. If you're doing it omnibus, you'll have to have 5 affirmative votes for all.
Right, thank you.
So are we
have-
good with
We
that?
have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion from the public? Want to go home? Let's call the vote.
Councilmember Center,
Aye.
Councilmember Bruckman,
Aye.
Councilmember Tapia,
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer,
Aye.
Mayor Rotary.
Aye, 5 ayes, no nays. Items A, B, C, D, and E as amended have been approved. And again, I just want to thank the neighbors. I want to thank the PDC. I want to thank city staff. I want to thank my council colleagues and everybody who came out. They say that a city growing is a city progressing, and I look forward to meeting our new neighbors. So thank you.
Thank you. That's it. Thanks, thanks.
With that, I'd like a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.